The only thing left that I have that I wanted to talk about was we briefly, if at all, talked about it last week. Was the
Nobody talked about it. Dave Chappelle.
yeah
That was our last topic.
okay
It was our last topic. So I don't know how deep we got into it, but we talked about it.
So the last thing that I have here is just Netflix workers' response to the special. A lot has happened since that special came out. Obviously, Twitter was in an uproar.
Still trending.
Still going on.
On Netflix. It's still top 10.
Of course, it's Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of backlash on social media, and just like he said in the special, Twitter is not real, so he doesn't care about anything that goes on Twitter. It's not a real place.
The funny thing is too, like you can't really phase people who grew up in the era where Twitter didn't exist too. Some people you can. You see people like Kanye kind of got affected by it a little bit, but
you can't impact real comedians. Like you can never cancel.
He's been through some stuff. He literally moved to Africa because of everything that went down. You think he's gonna get threatened by some tweet?
A lot of the real, I wouldn't say real comedians, but people that are like really, I don't even know what the way to say this is, but you can't cancel certain comedians because they just don't care. And it's like, there's nothing better that you can be in the world than to be yourself. And as long as you're being yourself, somebody's going to relate to it. And a lot of people relate to Dave Chappelle. I definitely love all his stuff. He's my top one comedian ever. I didn't grow up in the Eddie Murphy era. I didn't grow up in the Richard Pryor era.
I grew up in Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, what's that, Cat Williams?
Yeah, I grew up in that sort of era.
Chris Rock, kind of.
Yeah, Chris Rock, kind of.
Like we're kind of like on a cusp, being late 90s babies. We're like on a cusp.
But Dave Chappelle
definitely like prominent in our like uprising.
Yeah, to me he's top one. You can't get rid of him. But I just want to continue. Oh, the cops are out.
I feel like they always be over there for a while. I mean, that's a big complex.
So for those that are unfamiliar with Netflix employees' response to the special, basically there's a lot of people that were that are either trans or are part of. There was somebody that leads like the Black women at Netflix or something, like Black Women Empowerment Group or something.
Okay, yeah, like how my job has a Black leadership forum.
She or the organization, I guess you would call it, had an issue with the special, and they voiced their opinions before it came out.
They wanted to get it taken down.
Yeah, and basically they planned a walkout. Before the walkout happened, one of the employees took sensitive company information and leaked all of it. And they got fired because you can't, regardless of your beliefs about something, like this is an actual company where people actually invest in the company. Like they could have lost millions or billions of dollars from like stockholders doing things like this, and you can't damage the company and do illegal things.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Like you can't leak information that's private. Those things don't come out until they're like vetted by in the financial reports when they put them out next year. So like you can't, or at the end of the quarter, whatever. So you can't do that. And hopefully people, because I know people are dense and they don't have any common sense, or people don't want to learn anything, but you can't violate a company's policy and then still remain, like, especially something that severe. Like you can't leak sensitive data.
The thing that you would be like to stay employed,
because now Disney knows how much Dave Chappelle is getting paid, literally, or any people. I think they leaked a lot of information. They could see what somebody's getting paid. Like all of that stuff is
and that's like
beneficial to their competitors.
Yeah, and that stuff is literally like sensitive information for a reason. Like that like affect Dave Chappelle too, because it affects his like marketability. Like, so now people know, okay, they paid him this, so now we're gonna offer him this.
Yeah. You know? Also, what he got paid to do for like an hour is crazy. He basically got paid $30 million for an hour.
I mean, he deserves it.
When you put in the work,
and he made Netflix probably more than that already. Everybody running to watch it.
That's part of the thing, though. Part of the data that came out, and this is all alleged, because who knows?
Oh, because people know. How much?
Allegedly, Netflix didn't recoup on the Sticks and Stones one. Like they didn't make the money back
The first,
from the
second
one that
special,
started the whole trans issue in the first place. But they said that what they don't,
which
what
is interesting because I feel like regardless, he always does well.
yeah, he did, like if it was 25 million they paid him, like he did like 23 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they said that they didn't account for all of the other ways that, like that's what they got paid directly for it, but there's other ways that they monetize Dave Chappelle offering a special. So
Yeah.
so obviously it's still positive, but the direct payment actually it didn't recoup,
Wow.
interestingly enough.
So that shit was a loss
Yeah.
because they didn't even make anything from it. They basically just kind of got their money back plus
Yeah.
lost some.
But yeah, I don't even know where I was. But basically, yeah, you can't leak company information. But hopefully, like I was saying, hopefully people aren't dense and understand that Netflix firing somebody for leaking sensitive information, even if it's related to their opinions about transgenders or
Yeah,
whatever
they
group.
didn't fire them for speaking out or speaking their mind
Yeah, they fired them for leaking the information.
because headlines were twisted that way. Netflix fires worker who was against Dave Chappelle. Like then you now you got to click that. Like now you're outraged by that, and then you actually click the article, and then they go into detail. It was because they leaked information.
But people only read headlines, of course. That's what's
Yeah,
marketable. But yeah, hopefully people understand that that's not what happened, and they didn't fire the people when they brought this to them in the first place, because that's what the whole story was: is that they brought this issue to them before they even released the thing, to express their concerns. They were like, okay, we'll take it into account. We still putting it out anyway, but thank you. We'll pay attention to it next time. And they didn't fire the people for speaking up. Like that's the whole point of having those groups in the first place. And it would be a violation of, I would assume it would be some sort of violation of labor rights or something to that effect, for if they would have fired them. It would have been discriminatory if they fired them for expressing their concerns
yeah,
in that sense. So they definitely didn't do that. Hopefully people understand that they wouldn't have done that, because that's a massive lawsuit.
yeah.
Like
Like
that, that man
that's why it just makes me laugh when people think they're so smart.
that man got 137
Yeah,
million.
for that racism stuff.
Insane.
What company was that again?
Tesla.
Tesla. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people they speak without knowledge. But like if you actually have like a real job, I mean, you can work anywhere. But like especially when you work in these corporate jobs, when you sign those like when you sign all that onboarding information,
There's
all
real
that
contracts.
information is on there. Like you can't do certain things. First of all, and they'll tell you you'll get fired for doing this. They'll literally tell you. And then also, they have policies. They have HR policies, all that. So why would a company fire somebody knowing that that's a major loss? And Netflix would probably be tanked of all their money if they fire somebody for racial or preference, like or whatever. What do they call it? Sexuality.
That would be almost too much of a layup of a lawsuit if they did
They
that.
would take a huge loss. Why would they do that?
But
Like
also,
people are so
they still can, of course, but they didn't in this case.
yeah, and they did. The lawsuit would definitely come. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I wonder that person's trying to conjure something. They probably trying to conspire.
and they technically are able to file a suit against you for damages of
Yeah,
leaking certain information. They're not going to, because that would just look bad.
and they could
But they could if
a
they wanted
lot
to.
of money.
They could, yeah, they could literally sue you for like 100 million or whatever it
Yeah,
is. And
there's a lot of stuff like defamation, not really defamation, but just like
to just be smart, like speak up, but don't do anything stupid like that. Like that's crazy.
yeah.
Maybe crazy
And
isn't the
now
word,
look at
but
you. Now you're on unemployment.
crazy isn't the word. But people should at least understand that
Like, why would
that's
you?
not like a light
Yeah.
sort of thing.
And now you might have trouble getting jobs anywhere.
Yeah, because now your
if
name
you do
is
run
out
a
there.
background check, they're like, why do we want to hire somebody that's going to leak our information? Possibly they're mad.
Yeah,
I'm not risking my life to defend nobody.
yeah. But they also staged a walkout, which is supposed to take place on the 20th, so three days from now, Wednesday, I think. So yeah, good for them. But this is one of those things, like, yeah, protest for what you believe in, but just don't do anything stupid, because this is what you're supposed to do. Do a walkout, express your concerns, say you don't agree with it, and do that, but also try to understand the other point of view as well, because they reviewed with a board of people and they were like, yeah, we don't feel like this extends
Yeah,
outside of
you think
the
Netflix would have posted
range.
something? They would allow something like this to be posted if it was that damaging.
The only thing I could think of is that they still did post the cuties thing, which was, I don't even want to talk about that one.
That was very ugh.
I don't know. That That wasn't posted on the main Netflix, was it? Was that
I
posted
don't
on like a
remember.
UK Netflix?
It might have
I
been.
would
Yeah.
I would hope that they would have known to not post that here. So
Do you think this is gonna work?
the walkout?
Yeah.
No, I think the walkout was just a demonstration.
Okay.
It's not gonna be like
I don't think they're gonna take his thing off.
no, they're
Cause
not.
they would have took up the other one.
Yeah, I'm like, but also, it's probably because so not that marketing people have ever not read the like not that marketing people have ever not read the room properly. That's happened, but a board of people that make millions and millions of dollars, they're gonna do what's in their best interest, and they reviewed this. So like with probably with scrutiny, especially any comedy specials where it could definitely do a lot of damage to the company, they definitely will be reviewing all of that sort of content. And it really, I just don't understand what people didn't understand about what he was saying.
I don't
And
either.
that's like part of the problem because
I
it
don't know if
just,
we talked about it last time, but literally we were saying he was just trying to say why is one group or why is outrage so much higher for this but not this? That's all he was just trying to say.
it was just a question.
Which is and just adding jokes. But people are allowed to make jokes that are not true. Like jokes aren't true. I don't think he really means what he's saying. It's just jokes.
Yeah, he's just saying a joke to try to get across to people, but people aren't getting it. It's
Like dark humor.
yeah, it's dark humor to highlight dark issues. Like that's the thing. It's
'Cause it is a real issue that
but you
people
can't.
will care more about hurting the feelings of somebody who is a man that's attracted to another man. You get canceled if you offend them, but if somebody kills somebody, if black people are being clowned, if Dave Chappelle's making all these episodes about black people being crackheads and being bad with spending money and baby mamas, none of that. You don't get canceled for none of that, but you get canceled when you make one comment about a gay person. That's literally the point he was making.
Yeah,
Like, why is the one issue more severe than the other? Why are black people and stuff that happens with us still at the bottom of the totem pole? Why is a black man being killed, despite the reasons of why he may have been killed? Why did he not get? Why is people not getting canceled for that?
it's just a question, and that's all he wants. It's just the answer.
Yeah, let's have a conversation. Give us a valid
why is
answer.
it always-
Give us a valid answer, right? Like their community. Please give us an answer from your community.
That's it.
We
Because it
wanna
can't
know.
be anytime anything is questioned or any time a conversation is brought up, you automatically get thrown with phobic.
Yeah.
It's like that's
Like
not
people
fair.
are allowed to question.
That's
We're
not even
all
fair.
raised differently. We all have different mindsets. We're all individuals. We want to understand.
Because then the second a black person says something about race, then it's like, why y'all make everything about
Yeah,
race?
why is everything about race? That happened so long ago. You guys been free since the 60s. Racism is not a thing no more.
Okay.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah, so I never understood because it highlights so many issues like outside of this, and that's also the other thing. Like he used that specific group, but it's also larger than that. People have to expand. Like I feel like TikTok and like I pick on TikTok a lot, Instagram, and all these things really melt your brain into like you have such a like you have no perspective on anything. You have no education about anything. You go to school and don't learn anything. You don't try to learn anything outside of school. You don't read a book. You don't try to expand your knowledge. You don't try to enjoy other cultures. You don't try to learn and do anything. And then you have an opinion that's based on nothing. You have an opinion that's based on what you saw on Instagram.
Like literally that person who tweeted today, Kamala and Joe didn't do nothing. Look at the gas prices. They don't got nothing to do with the gas prices.
Yeah,
That's
gas prices
inflation.
are
That's oil stuff that's happening.
companies that have nothing. The government doesn't regulate
They
gas.
don't say, okay, let's make the gas price $3.20 today. They don't do that. Like people are not really stupid. Like why would you even make a tweet like that?
Yeah,
It could have been a joke, but it wasn't a joke. I don't think it was a joke. He was dead serious.
It definitely wasn't a joke.
He was dead serious.
But people.
That's why that's a lot of people, they get swayed because of that. Like I think even the government knows people are stupid, so that's why they try to help them out when they do these like. That's why Trump even said if I was Republican, I mean if I was to run for president, I would be Republican because they're the dumbest party. That's on record. Like that's a video of him saying that. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I think they know that too. These politicians know people are so stupid. That's why they try to dumb down these when they go to their little what are they called when they go out and like try to garner information.
Rallies.
Yeah, the rallies. Yeah, and like when they make these ads, Because people are stupid. Like, you have these people who are controlling who we vote for and don't even know that that the government has nothing to do with gas prices. That's scary. And there's too much education out here. There's too much knowledge for you to not know certain things. Just speak on it.
Yeah, most people I would say are dumb.
They are. And social media exposed that. I'm like, Jesus Christ. A lot of people are really, really dumb.
And it's not so much that people don't have the capability of being more educated. And I hate to try to use the word dumb and try to down people, but
it's
I
laziness.
think I would consider you to be dumb if you don't try to seek more information or try to learn about your environment or try to learn about other people's experiences. You're dumb because you don't get to learn or experience anything. If there's anything I've learned from traveling this country, and I've been to almost every state at this point, is that there's so many different cultures and
You
experiences
get different
that
perspectives
you have.
now, literally. Like, you even said to yourself, like, you get a whole different perspective just seeing certain stuff.
Yeah, you would. This is lives you wouldn't even know. Like people, it's like
People live a whole different lifestyle than your little block
yeah,
in New York.
or anywhere, like your little corner suburb somewhere in
Atlanta.
Tuscaloosa. Like I don't know, like it's the world
It's
is
so
much more vast than that.
And that's why people encourage traveling, because that's one way to easily learn. But yeah, I just feel like now more than ever, there's just so much knowledge out there that there's really no excuse. Like, it's laziness. You know how they say babies, like, and kids, one thing about them is they'll always say why, but why, but why. Where did that go? How come that disappears? I feel like that should always be with you. You should always ask why.
Because the parents said, because I said so.
Yeah, and that's why that messes you up. Yeah, that's one thing. We're gonna talk about parenting. Don't say because I said so. Tell your kid why. You know, like, they're curious, and that should be, as adults, you should still say, but why? All right, we have this election coming up. Why did we vote? All right, why is there electoral colleges? What do they do? What's the effects of them? What about districts? What about this? What about that? Like, everything should be why? Why am I voting for this person? Why am I a Democrat? Don't just say, oh, I'm a Democrat because my parents were Democrats. No, like, why are you a Democrat? What beliefs do you believe in that they support? Why did you vote for Joe Biden? Oh, I just wanted to get Trump out of here. And okay, valid excuse, but why do you not like Trump? Okay, he said this. Like, everything should just be why. And I think nobody ever asks why about stuff. They just talk and they just want to sound intelligent and smart, and it's like, no.
And I hate to come across, which I'm sure it does, because people are always gonna have something to say. Like, you can't say anything. You say the sky is blue, and somebody's gonna argue with you about it.
Yeah. How we're talking, we're elite. This what's the word they always say? Elitist.
Yeah, it's not so much that I think that I'm like I think I'm smarter than everybody in the room, but I at least try to be. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of people, is that some people really are very knowledgeable about a lot of things and they try to be. If you're somebody that doesn't try to be, and then you have I would say, audacity to try to speak on something that you didn't try to attempt to learn about, then you just look dumb.
Crazy. That's really like what
especially to
saying.
Somebody that is already educated in whatever the topic is. Like,
you just see it so much on social media. Like, you see people having these debates, and you see when the person gets choked up because they realize they're not smart as they think they are. Like,
yeah, like you don't have the information that you think you have. Your opinion is based off of what you see on social media. Like, I hate to keep going back to social media, but I know that's so much of what people think. Like, they get their opinions off of headlines that publications make for the purpose of making money.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't even believe in their own things that they're posting.
And I feel like people believe that surface level topics and surface level opinions that they see online, like, that's it. I'm smart now. Like, I feel like nobody really understands, like, there's so much depth that comes in with so many topics. Like, I didn't realize that until I start oh my God, I can't talk. Start studying for the CPA exam. Like, look at all these thick books just to become a public accountant. You gotta go through all this material. It's more than just I read one topic, or I took one class about accounting, and now I know everything about accounting. I know everything about tax now because I took one tax class. Like, that's how it is with people. They see one tweet and now they feel they're expert in that because they've seen this one surface level opinion. Like, so much stuff takes that level of depth that people don't want to do. People don't want to sit and study a topic for hours. People don't want to sit and watch YouTube videos for hours and hours and hours on a topic because they just want that quick, fast information and think that they're smart just off that one thing, that one tweet they saw, or that one article headline they saw.
Yeah.
And then they spew that back out like, oh, I saw that 50% of people are homeless. Like, I saw that article on Twitter. Whoa, where'd you get that stat from? 50% of people are homeless.
Yeah, go look up the data. There's a like a large
And go look up not even what the data is, but how they get the data. Who did they
that yeah
who did they
yeah
they get this from?
that's the other
What
thing.
was this, the focus group size? How many people were even a part of this group for them to get this stat? Because sometimes you get these stats, it'd be like 50% of people are homeless, and they go to like Skid Row and they interview
A bunch of homeless people.
a bunch of homeless people. Okay, of course now your focus group is only homeless people, so of course it's 50% of people are homeless. Like a lot of these stats that you see, I don't really sometimes even trust a lot of them because their focus group is so small. Like, I'm not gonna trust this stat. 9% of people are vegans. It's like, but then you might go talk to some vegans in your town, and now you think 50% of people are vegans. Like, it's all about your focus group. Like, it's like, that's why I don't know. Stats sometimes can't really trust all stats.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Just try to be educated because the backlash it just exemplifies the whole everything that he was saying in the special. With people are going to try to cancel him, which is exactly what happened.
he knew what was gonna happen because he's
That
smart. He's so smart.
People take a clip and then run with it, and then that's their whole opinion on something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like it gets. I don't see any of it, but I can understand how it can get to be a lot for somebody that It's just man, it's crazy. It's just really interesting what common public perception and thought is about a lot of things, especially when it's based in something that's not factual.
That's why when we just watched that David Letterman thing with Kanye, like everybody in the audience, I feel like they kind of were giving Kanye a weird reaction that sometimes. But he literally was saying like that's why I like Kanye, because he was like, going back to like the whole Trump thing, he was like, he just wants to have a conversation. That's all he was trying to do by wearing the hat. Like he trying to the hat thing. I still understand that it was very like, I get how it looked, but he literally said he just wants to have a conversation about fear, like the fear. He didn't like, why do I have to be fearful to wear this hat? Because I'm a Trump supporter, but doesn't mean I support everything that Trump, says. Like I get what people saying because Trump was just such an extreme person that his example was. But I feel like for him, he felt like it was the best time to really ask people, well, why? Why do you not like him? Give me specific examples of why you do not like him.
But when people did that, then he didn't have anything else to say.
When?
People would literally say, this is why.
No, but he did respond. He was like, yeah, like that was bad, but like not everybody who votes for him is voting for that. But I don't know.
But that doesn't even make sense.
I get what you're trying to say though, because he said like he knew people. Like he was more so talking about the first election, not the second election. Like the second election, a lot of people woke up. I think that's why he lost. But the first time around, he was saying like a lot of people voted for him that were scared to say they voted for him, and he was saying like that's messed up. Why do you have to be scared to say who you voted for? Like it just, he was making good points. Like it's kind of crazy. Like you feel fear about who you voted for because what the reaction you might get. Someone might jump you or curse you out or whatever.
And but the thing about that is that the reason why those people feel afraid is because they know that they voted for somebody that stands for something that's not good. And
I guess.
And that's why they wouldn't. Because if he stood for something positive, would they not be like, yeah, I voted for him?
But like Kanye was saying, all these politicians are bad. How come there's no fear about voting for some other people who did this crazy stuff too?
Like,
we talked about even Obama. A lot of people love Obama. You talked about Lupe Fiasco. A lot of people love him because he's the first black president, and I do too. But it's like, you don't really necessarily do a lot of positive things. Like people always want to blame Trump for the cage thing, and that was Obama's administration that did that. It's been the thing. No, there was just no headlines about it, so nobody knew. The whole case thing started with his administration. So do what you will with that information, but it's just like it is crazy. Like I get Trump as an extreme example. I wish Kanye would have used a different Republican and Democrat to do what he was trying to get across. But Kanye said himself he didn't vote for Trump, but he just wanted to prove something about fear and wanted to prove something about people's backlash. Never, instead of having a conversation, like I think that's really what he was saying. Like, is F you vote for Trump instead of let's have a calm and civil conversation. Let me see why. If we get to the root of the conversation that the person's a racist, okay, now you can have outrage. But he said that so many people don't even get to that point because it's met right away with anger. It said, why'd you vote for Trump? Let me hear why you voted for him and what policies you support. And say, okay, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, then why'd you vote for this person? Blah, blah, blah. And then you could agree to disagree.
He's a horrible example because if you would have no, Kanye is a horrible person to do that because even if you ask Kanye about Trump's policies, he wouldn't know either.
No, but that's not what Kanye was saying. He's not saying. He was just saying he was making an example out of
I understand
politics, saying that people never even have a conversation. He said he didn't vote. He said that I didn't vote.
I know.
So he's saying this is deeper than just me. He's saying that he just wanted to make an example of he was trying to get a conversation between Democrats and Republicans to see what the reaction would be right away. And he used himself as an example, saying, "Look, the second I put this hat on, all of a sudden now it's Kanye's this, Kanye's that. I hate him, blah blah blah." When 5 minutes before he never said he voted for him, he just put the hat on to see what the reaction would be, and he proved what the reaction was. Like people reacted the way he knew they were going to react, instead of just being like, "Hey, Kanye, why are you wearing this hat?" It's, "Oh, he's a Trump supporter. He supports this, this, this." Like it's never like, why are you wearing, like, let's get calm and be like, "Kanye, why are you wearing that hat?" And he could explain it. He could explain it and be like, "I'm wearing it because I'm trying to make a example, a social experiment." And people would have been like, maybe this is a bad person to use, but they might not have been as like outraged as they were right away, thinking that he's supporting this man when he literally was trying to get Larry Hoover out of prison.
Allegedly. Because you can't just be saying that because he didn't get him out.
No, but this proof that he tried to get him out. That's why I feel like Larry Hoover Jr. is so cool with him. I don't think he would just jump on the wave like, "Oh, well, yeah, Kanye tried to get him out." But I don't know. I was just saying all that to say that, like, there's never like calm conversations about stuff. Just try to understand people. It's always like outrage, and I feel like that's like something that's like with this Dave thing is like, why is it never like, there's never like conversation. Like you could never just ask questions. It's always anger right away. It's never like I said, how come they can't just answer the question? How come they can't just say, "Okay, this is why"? Because they know they can't. I think that's why they're so outraged. They know they really can't answer the question that he wants to answer to. So they're gonna try to find other stuff to be mad about to bring him down. Because it's like, for real, why can't you answer that question?
Who couldn't answer it?
I feel like
Are we talking about Kanye specifically?
I'm bringing it back to like the trans community, how they never could answer Dave's question. Could be, I just looping it back, but that's why I feel like they're like, it's like anytime I feel like people, I don't know, people are just weird and just never want to have calm, civil conversations to try to get down to roots of issues and like let each other see each other's sides and just try to be like at peace with each other.
It's funny because I saw a clip the other day from let me see. I need to find it, but it kind of goes exactly in line with this. It was a clip that resurfaced from Ben Shapiro. He basically ripped apart the whole Black Lives Matter thing. I think that video was like 3 years old, but it kind of resurfaced again. And it did bring up that whole sort of point. So he was bringing up, I think he was doing it calmly because, again, I didn't watch the full thing because I'm never watching anything Ben Shapiro. But he brought up, or they were having a discussion. Some people that were two black people, a black woman and black man, were on the panel, and then there was some other white person, I think, and it was him. And he asked the question. He was like, "How is racism?" Something, and I really hate to paraphrase this because if he didn't say it along these lines, it's gonna make him sound crazy. But he said, well, how does racism today impact the black community or something
like now?"
Yes, or something to that effect, which is just a question. Like somebody should just be able to answer it. But the immediate reaction, and hopefully I could find the clip
he was
really
just like
quickly.
probably like genuinely asking, like he wasn't trying to be funny.
No, he genuinely asked the question.
Yeah, like, oh, like how is it? Because he's like, that's the thing that kills sometimes. Because like us black people will say, "Oh, white privilege, blah blah blah," but that's like a thing. Like somebody had a good diagram. They said what white privilege is. It's like white people having a path, right, with a few rocks here and there, and then there being a wall where they can't see anybody else's path, like minorities. And that's the thing. They're blind, and it's not necessarily their fault. Like, you know, they can still educate themselves, but it's like, I think everything's always outrage, you know? Like, I saw that on TikTok. Like, somebody asked a question. Like, okay, you know what? This girl was ranting. That's what it was. This girl was ranting about lip fillers and tanning and all that, you know? And then she later posted another TikTok showing, like, her DMs on Twitter, I think, or TikTok, or Instagram. And her DMs were literally flooded with, like, a lot of, like, people who were like, "Hey, you know, I'm white, and I just want to know, like, how I could be an ally." I feel like the intention was good. Like, it was there, you know, like, which she identified too. But then she was, like, ranting after that. She's like, "I appreciate the DMs, but it's not black people's, like, you burdening us to educate you guys." Like, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I get it, but it's like, okay, we can't go tit for tat about everything. It's like, now you're mad at them because now you feel like they're burdening you to educate. Like, oh, you shouldn't burden a black woman to educate you on how to be an ally. Go read books. Go do. And I get that. Yeah, they should do research, but like I feel like their approach was wild. Like I feel like with this, he asked a question and is met with, go, probably like, go read. This racist. Are you dumb? Like it's like, whoa. Like he might just really want to know because the blinders up. And yeah, maybe he should be more open to doing research. But it's like we
But
should have these conversations. We should be able to have these conversations civilly.
yeah, so their response wasn't uh what's the word,
Like
hostile,
hostile, yeah.
as it was kind of disrespectful. So I have the clip here. Hold up, let's see.
59 times more than that of black families.
Let's see.
Wealth. Family worth is just $1,700, while 40% of black families have zero or negative wealth. White family worth, in terms of financial worth, is 69 times more than that of black families. Given this disparity, how can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't...
So
Oh, so they laugh at him for saying that.
they laughed at him for saying that, but
Whoa. That was like a very like, whoa, why are you laughing like that? Like relax.
also I understand the laugh because they're saying he's trying to say that racism. Basically the answer to the question was racism doesn't have as much to do with the reason why black people don't have more economic power.
Then culture. But like let him get the point up before he laugh.
Yeah.
Like let him get it off and maybe it's like, all right, let's hear what you guys say.
And I don't agree with that for a lot of reasons because the whole I'll get into it later, but this was what happened after that.
You know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70% in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides. Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Ooh.
So what do I
He
think?
got quiet.
Yeah, literally silence after that.
I mean,
and it's not so much that
I'll answer some of that, even though that's not the point of what we're trying to make. But like, I feel like, but that's the conversation we can have. I mean, the whole single mom thing going up, I don't know. But I feel a lot of effects that he might not understand. It's all delayed response to stuff that's rooted. Like, yeah, we could recognize these issues and turn it around, but black people are killing each other because they've been put in that environment. Like that's what they were pushed to. Like, think about Tulsa. You had these thriving community that turned to nothing. That turned into like
with no reparations.
You burned it all down. So now you have these people who have to build themselves up from scratch. And human nature, you turn crazy. You turn on each other, and that's what happened. Is a delayed response.
Yeah. So.
But he was a little crazy asking that question. But it's like, yeah, don't lie. Explain to me. I think that's what he was just frustrated because nobody explains to him because he should already know.
Yeah, and this was on his page, so any sort of response after that, I think he kind of cut out because it jumped to something else.
Dang,
and I don't so much necessarily agree with his point because at the end of the day, and this is not really a discussion about what he was saying or the black plight or anything like that, but to respond to what he was saying, so many of those statistics can be routed back to the impacts of slavery and
even like the drug offenses,
discrimination.
Even drug offenses, like it's conspiracy kind of, but I feel like it's been, I don't know, the whole they put the crack in communities. Because where did it come from? Somebody put it there.
Black people did not import.
Yeah, from Cuba, whatever they get it from.
Yeah, we didn't even have the ability to do a lot of things.
So it's like, okay, of course, if these communities somehow got all these drugs out of the blue, of course they're gonna go to jail for drug offenses.
Like you look at the whole Frank Lucas story, like how the military was flying it into here. Like that's how it works. But I'm not trying to get so much into that. But basically, so much of his argument can go back. And this is not so much about his argument, but just the purpose of having a conversation, being able to ask a question and have statistics. He pulled that all off the top of his head to be able to have the statistics, to be able to have the conversation. And I don't agree because so many things, it's, what's the word? It's like almost it's circular. It's a circular argument basically because you talk about black kids not being able to graduate or the drug rate or murder and all these different things, but it all is so circular because it all comes back to we were placed in these scenarios because of from colonizers and slavery because
there's trauma. There's just trauma there that's rooted.
They
And that stuff gets
literally
passed down. Like that trauma gets passed down.
would take your wealth, tell black women that have their babies that they won't get government support if there's a man in the house. So now you separate the man from the woman and they have to live in separate households. Then he's going to go out and probably get somebody else pregnant. And now you have two families that don't have a man in the house. And those sorts of statistics or that sort of scenario is why you can get a statistic that says that.
And then he's saying the Americans are more
Let me
racist
finish.
when it's like a passed down effect. Like, not like you said, now those two families of single kids are gonna have kids, and now they're messed up because they didn't have their dad in the house. It's just all passed down. Like, are you stupid? Sorry, but see now I'm defeating the purpose. No, but it just gets me mad. But yeah, I see I'm defeating the purpose because I'm supposed to be calm.
Yeah, it's a circular argument. So many of those things because that will make single mother households. Now you have two single mother households off of one man. And now that's how the number multiplies very quickly. So you can continue to have these circular arguments all day. So it's not that I brought this up because I like the idea of having a conversation. You bring up facts and you have a panel of people discussing something. You can't have a panel all the time, but just the fact of a group of people coming together to literally discuss an issue, talk about it, hear each other's opinions. And he's not telling you. He said, you tell me why this is the case, and then giving you a chance to respond.
And now you look crazy if you don't have the same stats that he has. Like, it's like now you're not educated enough in your own thing that you're outraged about.
And I'm not familiar with him. I'm sure that he's racist. It's like, no, I'm not going to put that on him. I'm sure.
He does give me some like white privilege, blind.
I think the radio show was like, the radio show was like conservative radio. What is it? 770 KTTH conservative talk radio. So not to generalize people, but I could imagine the type of person he is. But again, it wasn't so much for the point of what he was actually saying, but just to have a conversation. Because then if they don't reply with anything, that's literally the problem, where people can't communicate and people are speaking on things that they're not
don't even have
educated
about.
You
don't have the stats about it. You don't have anything to back your argument. You need backings to your argument.
Yeah, it can't just be like, I feel this way and it should be obvious to you why you feel this way. It's like, no, explain why.
Because he might be blind, like the same way that black people might be blind to issues with the LGBTQ community. White people could be blind to our issues, so we can't get mad that white people don't understand us, but then get mad that the trans people don't understand us.
Yeah.
So it just everything just has to be a conversation, and the same with the trans people. Trans people can't get mad that black people might feel we don't understand them, but then don't want to have that conversation. They just want to cancel somebody.
Yeah, they don't want to understand us.
They just want they don't understand how we feel and how we're hurt by the fact that we don't get stuff. Like,
and there's black trans people. But
and that's a deeper issue because they're like the super minority. I feel bad for them. If you're a trans woman who's black,
you're even more alienated.
Scary.
You're alienated in your own community. It's the same thing as black people. But
can in your community, you're like, is it us against Dave Chappelle or is it us against black people? Like, they probably don't even know.
Yeah, but we'll see how this goes. But it was a good conversation. Good conversation to have, but that's all I had in terms of topics. So unless you have something, we could go ahead and wrap this up.
I mean, that's what the two topics I had. But
cool.
I mean, as far as like stuff that's going on, we always keep like monitoring it to see what news is gonna happen. But we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah.
But only reason I brought that up is because I feel like a lot of conversations, like, for anybody who's watching, they might be like, it feels like we repeat a lot of things, but it's because stuff keeps happening within those conversations. Like the baby thing we talked about so long ago, and in like that community, I feel like that conversation is following us because this new stuff keeps happening. So for anybody who's watching consistently, we're just monitoring the current events. So yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, as we just keep going, hopefully more positive news comes to light and we can talk about like positive stuff. But everything's negative because that's just how the news works, unfortunately. I feel there's no positive news ever, right? Like,
there's positive news. We just choose not to speak about it. Yeah, but
but we said we don't talk about some, real issues, because these are some real world issues, and it leads to positivity. Talking about the negative leads to positive. We just want everybody to be smart and educated and emotionally intelligent. Because that conversation we just had, emotional intelligence is so important. That's why I feel like sometimes I might not be good for debates, because it's like I feel like I would just get so passionate about what I'm talking about and just get frustrated if I feel like the person can't understand. But you just can't. You just have to try to be emotionally intelligent. I took a class on that before, and it worked for the day. I'm still learning, but yeah, that's an important thing to add, to be emotionally intelligent.